Welcome to Toffee TV. Today I am joined by the man who scored the winner the last time Everton won major honours. All the way from the United States, it is Mr. Paul Rideout. Paul, thank you so much for giving up your time to have a chat with us.
My pleasure. Looking forward to it.
So you're all good. You're looking, listen, you look like you could still be playing. You still look sharp. Not a day older than when you scored that goal at Wembley.
I don't know, a few more wrinkles and whatever, but yeah, I'm trying to stay trim as you can and fit. And I see you kind of look at my sons now, and they're all trim, and so you try to keep up. But
yeah, you've got to, haven't you, mate?
This was where Graham Sharp, I think, was moving on, and they needed a striker with some experience that wasn't too expensive, and it played at that level. So, it was when the news came in that I was wanted by Everton. Obviously, Howard Kendall was a great player in his own right, and Everton. When I played against him with Southampton, they're always a difficult team to play against, well supported, and and that environment as a kid, nearly going to Liverpool, you have a sense of what it really means up there. So at the end of the day, I wasn't, getting too many looks because Mark Hateley was the number 9 at Rangers. So, I wanted to give it a go and really excited to get the opportunity to go there.
Didn't work out too badly at all, did it? Signed on the day before the first game of the season and played against Sheffield Wednesday on the Saturday in a 1-1 draw, in a game that I thought Barry Orme was going to be a goal-scoring midfield player, because he actually scored for us that day. And how wrong can you be? I think he only scored another one, and that was in that Wimbledon game, which was a screamer as well.
I watched that the other day, actually. I was watching that. It was quite funny. It was a cracking goal, wasn't it? When he scores, he makes it worth your while,
Oh, not bad. With it, but it wasn't the greatest Everton side. Obviously, at the time, he was struggling a bit. How did you find it when you came in? I mean, your second game for us, we beat United 3-0 at Old Trafford. If you remember, that was the obviously the first Premier League season. So
yeah, it was a tough first season. Obviously, there was a lot of. It wasn't a good dressing room because there was a lot of older players that were about to move on, and there was some new players that had come on. People weren't getting on well with each other, so the dressing room wasn't the best, to be fair.
Right. Yeah.
And with obviously the pressure of getting results at a club like Everton, which it always is every year. I watch even now. If you're halfway in the table, it's not good enough, especially with the money they're spending. But that said, it was. I knew it would be tough. I said it before. I was in a cool, the first season. Outside of that, everything else I really enjoyed. And all I talk about is Everton now. I still love Southampton. It's my home club, but Everton is where I really feel a relationship with. It's just purely frustration. It is at any time. That they're proud people, and it costs a lot of money to come to games. And if players aren't performing, it is what it is, and you got to expect some of that. But at the end of the day, you can't control everything. And
No.
You have the good times, your bad times, and when you get the good ones, like the FA Cup, like scoring at Ipswich, staying up, that was one of my best moments, probably better than the FA Cup, just because of the importance of it. And obviously the Wimbledon game, but you don't want too many of those days. Thankfully,
God, no.
No,
we really don't. And yeah, Howard Kendall. We beat Southampton at home 1-0, and I remember driving home from the game. It was in my dad's car going home from the game, and he'd resigned, and we were puzzled as fans. But did you see that coming as a player? Did it, or was it a shock to you?
Yeah, because you never knew what he was thinking. I mean, he was such a lovely guy. He really was.
Yeah.
You know, more of a kind of friend to the team than the manager. You know, and so
Right.
I don't think the discipline was there enough,
Mm.
and the fitness. You know, you
Right. Okay.
see when we moved on a couple of years on in Dogs of War, we were so fit and sharp, and
Yeah.
we all knew our jobs, but there we were. It's almost like playing off the cuff, you know, and
Oh, okay.
you know, so it wasn't so structured, but you know, what I can say with Kendall is that I love being around him. He made you feel wanted, and he made you feel good. He was a lovely man, you know, you know, coach wise, I don't know all the time. He did a fantastic job for a certain time, and you know, I think there was much better players before than there were the time I was there, including myself. You know, when I'm looking at Andy Gray, for instance, you know, I touch Andy Gray. He was fabulous. He was one of those that I learned how to head the ball from. He wasn't the biggest guy, but his time and his braveness was fabulous, and that's what I learned from. So, you know, it was that time, and we had a change, and you know, things move on. Yeah, Walker was. I think if you look at even Norwich, and you might disagree, and a lot of Norwich fans might, but I thought he got that job. He walked into that job when they were a top team anyway. He had a lot of good players at Norwich, but you know, he came in, and it's nothing to do with the personal side. He didn't fancy me, but I would never say that about anyone. There just wasn't structure. There just wasn't a work ethic that you could say to yourself, all right, we've got a chance to get out of here and push on and do something. It just wasn't there. And I think as time went on, fans realised that. You could see, if you asked any player, majority of players, I would say, they would say the same thing. You know, we needed something there that we could work off. You can't play off the cuff at that level. It just doesn't work. And structure is the be all and end all. And if you know, it can be different. We were Dogs of War, and then you look at, you know, Man City. They play terrific soccer, but he's planned that. He worked on that, and he made those players, you know, over time, understand that this is how it works. Now you can do your individual stuff, but yeah, it was never going to work. And you know, and again, I thought I would be moved on and wouldn't be a part of it. So it came to such a situation that they decided to make a change, thankfully at the right time, and we still had enough time to change it and turn it around. And you know, obviously, you know what happened after.
Before we get on to Joe Royle, just with I've asked listen, Neville Southall says all you need to know about Mike Walker. He's not as you know what Neb's like, Paul. Neb's not you know, backwards in coming forward.
He's honest. He's honest. You know, you say it as it is.
But that Wimbledon game, you touched on it before. Obviously, things had happened, and we'd found ourselves needing to win that game. You know, the final game of the season, and playing them when they were a side, weren't they? The tough side, big team, tough team. I mean, what was that like to be involved in? You know, you're at the club, and all of a sudden, you know, the park end's being knocked down, and people are in trees, and stands getting built, and everything was crazy, wasn't it?
It was, and you know, started with the day of the game of driving a bus from the training grounds, parking our cars there and not at the stadium because of, you know, the aftermath if we did go down. You know, then you get there, and the tension is that not just the game, that the whole build up to it, the whole week of it. It was all you could think of. You couldn't sleep. You didn't want to be a part of that team that would get relegated anyway. So you get in there, and then you hear, this is the biggest roar. And I've been in some big games, you know, the Celtic, Rangers and all that sort of thing. But that Raw, that particular day, never stopped, never dropped. 2-0 down after, I think, about 12 minutes. And you're going, and then again, I looked at the tape and I saw a couple of, Holdsworth missed a couple of absolute sitters late on. But, you're 2-0 down and we get a cracking goal to bring us back into the game. And you're in there at half time and we're down. And you've got a lot to do. And Wimbledon don't care about anyone. It doesn't matter if it's Liverpool, Man United. They don't care. They come and play the same way, and they never give up. No, I mean, to be fair, at half time, the dressing room wasn't what you'd think it would be, screaming and shouting. It was pretty calm. Everyone kind of understood that we had to go out there and give it everything. Again, the only way you really could do that is by the way that the fans treated us. They never once dropped their standard of keeping on our side. It was amazing. 2-0 down. You had a deaf silence for about 5 seconds, and that roar came back in. I've never heard anything like it, and that's what kept us going, and that's what got us the result, I believe.
Yeah, and unbelievable. So, never want to experience that again. Thank you. That wasn't great, but we come out the other side of it. Obviously, Joe Royle and Willie Donachie come in, and we play Liverpool, we're bottom of the league. We play Liverpool, who are third in the table. A chance to go top, I think, that night. And Big Duncan and then you get us 3 massive points in Joe Royle's opening game.
Yeah, that was it was in the way that they came in. We went into the gym, and Willie Donachie said, "This is how we're going to do it. And if there's anyone here that doesn't want to do it, off you go." And obviously, no one did. But it was just work right, and organisation. Everyone understanding this is your job. No more right now. This is what we need. And we worked on it. And if you were coming to watch training, you go, Jesus, I'd hate to watch that. I hate to be involved in that every day. But it was what was needed. And I think that when we went out to the Liverpool game, it was probably the ideal game. If you can't get up for that one, you can't get up for any game. And, it was great atmosphere again. And Liverpool fans were sending all sorts of messages out there at that time, previous the run down to the game. And, it was a pretty slow start by us. They had a couple of opportunities and we looked a little bit nervous, but built ourselves in the game. And Duncan himself, great goal. That's what he was really strong at, bullying people. And, that gave us an opportunity to work on being 1-0 up. But like you said earlier, that we were throwing those things away. But now we had a plan with the defensive side of it, that we'd stay strong and stay solid, and everyone knew their job and stuck to it. And we had a lot of workers out there, that were willing to do that. Duncan was a much better player than I was, in the respect that he had some serious pace. He had a fantastic touch for a big man, and he had great vision. So he had a lot going for him, and it made my job easier. He did all the bullying, and I felt like I was a good technical, tactical player that could pick up the bits and then bring in the midfield and use the wide guys. But anyway, all said and done, I got the opportunity to come on at half time, and it gave me enough time to get into the game. And obviously the goal, I felt it was one of not just important, but it was one of my best goals because it was so awkward. And I didn't think I would get there, and the way that I came in and volleyed it, went through someone's leg. So it's fortunate, but at the end of the day, I felt it was a really good goal. But that did so much for your confidence. But that said, the next game I started. And that confidence, from that to that, I just felt like I could do anything because I had Duncan up there. I had a midfield that was so hard working, so organised, and so tough. I wouldn't want to play against Barry and Joe. They go through anything, you know. Yeah, and we had a solid defence all of a sudden that were working on certain things that Willie had instructed it to do. We didn't leave gaps in the back, and you know, that little run we went on of beating some really good teams at the time. You know, it was pretty impressive. So that you grow on that, and obviously with everything else with it, the feel good factor. The fans were back again and enjoying their soccer. It just felt a much better place.
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible to watch the team perform. The West Ham win, which was the last home game Walker had,
Yeah,
was a nervy win. You know,
yeah,
you were throwing yourselves in the way of shots. We should have beat them by more. We had
yeah,
chances, but then they missed a couple at the end, and it was nervy. The difference between that team and the team that took the pitch against Liverpool, or rather finished against Liverpool that night, who were a good side,
yeah.
was like night and day. The work rate, the ethic. I mean, was it something in terms of the fitness? Was that did Joe and Willie notice that immediately? Was this like, listen, you aren't fit enough? Did you feel that as players at the time, or are you just in that zone of this is what we do, you know, and you're thinking, I'm a pro, I'm fit?
Yeah, you do, and then you have a wake up call. But I think along with the fitness, it wasn't just that; it was the mental side of it. Is that, well, you know, if you're, like you said, if you're not on board, and I don't mean just your soccer or just want to be here or be in the team. It's like you have to throw yourself into this. Now, every pro should do that every time, but we weren't. And you know, when you're not winning, the confidence, it's hard. There's times when I've been on the field in some games, not particularly with Everton, but in general, as an older player, that you get scared of missing. Whereas a younger kid, well, I said earlier, you don't have that fear because you know, next one I come, I don't care, the crowd have a go, you don't even hear it. And that's what that was. It was a whole confidence factor of what they brought. And you can be the best player in the world, but everyone has a downside, a bad time going through that. I just felt that you look in the dressing room, everyone's talking, everyone's buzzing, everyone is looking forward to training now, and looking forward to getting on the field. We were dreading getting on the field and thinking, don't want to let the fans down again. And it doesn't matter what level you play that, you know, you go through that process. But you know, that Joe was so good to go on into his office, and even if it was nothing to do with anything, just have a chat with him. He's so welcoming, and you felt like, you know, if there's any problems anywhere, that you could just talk to him as a normal person, and you know, it wouldn't go any further. So I just enjoyed that time with those guys.
Yeah, absolutely outstanding. You scored 6 days after that. You scored the winner at Chelsea.
Yeah.
Can you believe that? Can you believe that we still haven't won there in the league since your header?
I know, I keep getting mentions again. I keep living off those little. It's not a good thing. That's the problem. I want it to change, but yeah, that's crazy. I actually scored another one in that game. That there was nothing wrong with it. I was mystified why he called it off. But yeah, I mean, we that was a good Chelsea team as well. They had a lot of talent, and we just went out there and we just bumped them. You know, they didn't have an answer to what we had, because I think we just surprised everyone without giving them any kind of time. That was a lot of you know, good, solid players. Their midfield was excellent as far as tactical and technical, but work rate, they were over the top a little bit, and we took advantage, and terrific win that was. Yeah.
A great win, and then. But for you, playing with Duncan, because obviously there was so many times in your career where you were the target man, even though, you know, Duncan's a big lad, but you were the target man. Was that something did you have to learn to play with a big man, or were you just like, well, great, he's going to take the knocks and I can try to pick up the bits? Did it make your job easier, or what do you prefer, being that focal point or not?
It did. I mean, I love playing with Tony Cottee as well. He's a good striker to work off. He's very clever, very intelligent. But what it did for me was I still won my fair share of headers, but
Yeah.
I didn't have to take all the knocks all the time. And you see defenders at times were scared of Duncan because he wasn't scared of putting the elbow in, and and he was a clever player in that way. And even in training, I wouldn't want to come up against him. He just knows how to use that body well, like Shearer did when I was at Southampton. He was so clever. It totally gave me more energy. I felt that I was in this day and age, I would have been an 8. I wasn't quick, and Duncan on the run was quick. I felt I had enough in my game to be able to work off that and still do some of that, and then get into the box a little bit more often. So maybe therefore I was getting more goals.
Yeah. Good partnership. You scored your first cup goal in the 5-0 against Norwich. We beat Derby County in the third round. Wasn't a great game. Hinchcliffe scored late on, and then Bristol City away. I mean, I still don't know today, still 25 years later, how we got through that game, because we got battered, didn't we? And then we had Matt Jackson in before Christmas, and even he was like,
yeah,
I don't know what happened that day. I just hit it with my swinger, and it goes into the net. But
I apologise to the Bristol City fans after the game. That was we were shocking, disgrace. And then that's what you need, though, a little bit of luck that you sometimes don't get. But that was the great escape. That was should never have been. So
no, but name on the cup stuff on it.
Yeah, but after that, it wasn't an easy run all the way through to the final. All good teams. So we earned that right, I think, in the way that we were playing. That is where we got too big for our boots. But we learned from that in the Derby game and the next one. Derby game was tough. It wasn't an easy game. But then, like you say, the Newcastle game was a good game.
They were a side, weren't they? They were a good side.
They were. And a great goal to win the game. And, and then you get the Tottenham, and it's just, I just felt on that day, and I think the group did, that Tottenham, for the team they were individually, I mean, great forwards, their defence was their weakness. We just felt we could exploit that because they weren't fabulous in the air. Tottenham was one of my more favoured teams to play against because they played it the right way, but they never seemed to have central defenders that would, were tough guys. They were just technical, smart players, good soccer players, but not particularly good in the air. So I always felt that I would score against them. I just have feeling against certain teams. But it was unusual run.
What was it like coming out at Ellen Road that day? Because the way they distributed the tickets, they give Spurs that big stand, which they had, but we had the 3 sides of it. Being a fan in that ground that day, it just felt like a home game. It was just blue everywhere. So what was it like for the players coming out onto Ellen Road that day?
Well, it was fabulous for us because you look around and you realise, geez, where are the Tottenham fans? And even though they got that big stand, we never heard of it.
No.
The fact is, we never gave them a chance to start singing. We got the first goal, and from then onwards, we never looked back. The game was never a game, I don't think. We just stunned them. I think at that time, everyone wanted the Tottenham Man United final, and we were having none of that, and our fans were again exceptional. And it was, to be fair, how do we get Ellen Road? Because that's not far from us compared to Tottenham, and so everything was on our side. And that again in itself, that was a strange game. Matt Jackson scoring a header, putting us up, and then we score another goal. And
we need to chat about you in this. Hang on, we need to chat about you because first of all, you almost make it 2-0 and Graham Stewart puts in your shot, doesn't he? It's a good save from the keeper, and Graham Stewart rolls it in for 2-0, which is incredible.
Good finish. We underestimated that finish.
Great finish. But what happens? Because you went down injured, and obviously we've heard all the stories from Joe and, from Amo and the press that he subbed himself on. Well, you were getting treatment on the far side, weren't you?
I said to the physio, I'm going, he's not effing bringing him on, is he? I'm going back on. Tell him. But it was just one of those things where, I all the way back as I was walking around, the fans give me a fantastic reception, but I was effing and blind, and I was going, how did this happen? But once you get on then he comes on, he scores straight away. What can you say? And that guy was such a happy guy. He's such a cool guy, and he's a top young player at the time, and in essence, it was fortunate for me because my knee was damaged, in a way, he did me a favour because I would probably not made the final. I was struggling to make it as it was through the treatment, but he came on, he lit it up, and it was a different type of player that they couldn't handle, and it worked out for everyone.
Yeah, it's a mad one. I don't know. Obviously, it is lucky that he came on, obviously, because we wouldn't have wanted to lose you for that vital last few games. And it was such a mad game, him coming on. And I suppose his pace on the counter-attack near the end probably played into it. Because, that was the only goal we conceded in the whole cup run.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even a penalty. Yeah. Sheringham bought the penalty, didn't he? With
That's right, yeah.
He's very clever, and bought the pen, but...
Yeah, it was.
But
he's an elegant player anyway. Sheringham, very good.
Yeah.
But I don't think for any minute in that game that we felt we were going to lose that. It was just we were so relaxed. It was just a reward for getting out of the mess we were in. This was a bonus all the way through. Other than the Bristol City game, a lot of us have talked about it. Is that it just felt comfortable going through in every game. The Newcastle game, even though it might have been different in Newcastle, but playing in our home ground, you just didn't feel like you're going to lose that game. And going to Tottenham and then even the final, it's just it's our time, and such was the belief of the team.
You mentioned it right before, but we were on that really good run, and I remember we had 3 home games on the run. We had Southampton, Wimbledon, and Chelsea in a week, all at Goodison, and it was win 1, draw 1, we're sound. We'll more or less be okay, and we drew all 3 of them, 2 0-0s and a 3-3, and which meant we ended with 2 away games, didn't we? We went up to Ipswich, which was a real tricky game because they were difficult to go to Portman Road, but you come up with a massive goal that night, didn't you, to secure our status?
Yeah, actually, I think that's when the team realised, let's just get it done. Let's get this out of the way, give ourselves a game to enjoy before the final so that we can work on stuff. Ipswich was our weakest opponent. They weren't doing particularly well. But given how far that is away, and on a weekday, peeing down with rain, the fans are phenomenal. It was just excellent. We never felt like we were going to lose that game. It was 1-0, but it should have been more than that. And after that game was where you just say, hey, we can just enjoy these next 2 games, even though it's the last home game of the season, to thank the fans, and then obviously Wembley. You're going to enjoy it. If you got that last game, you're still worried about relegation. It's a big issue. So we got that out of the way. That the goal was kind of a fluky goal, but it was an important one. And that was actually a better feeling than the FA Cup because of the importance. Again, it just is. Yeah. It is. You can win a cup, but if you're not in the top league, then what does that all mean anyway? So. Going home on that trip, we had a great trip back, enjoyed it, and you just preparing for the final. So
yeah, it was a huge win, and you're right. We still had Coventry away, and it was just everything was done then. All everyone was like, forget the Coventry game, it's Wembley now. And you know, obviously in that little period, we'd lost Duncan as well, hadn't we? Got a groin injury. So we had you struggling. We had Duncan struggling as well. So, you know, I think Duncan come on at Coventry the last half an hour or whatever. We ended up drawing. But then you were saying you were struggling in the week of the cup final?
Yeah, I like just with pain on my ACL inside, and you know, I felt that I'd be okay for the final, but you know, it was one where I couldn't play the Coventry game, and Joe was good enough to give me a rest, and obviously that shows the importance of winning at Ipswich, gave me an opportunity to do that, but. What I'd always think about is that I think when you look at the final and then you look at Duncan's on the bench and I'm starting, that amazes me because it's probably not right because he's far superior than I was. But I think that you know, I was in good scoring form, whereas Duncan wasn't scoring as many. It was a good season for me, and I just felt like I could score every game. I think that was where Joe Royle made that decision on I think, of that kind of premises that I would deliver. I actually came off at half time, and Duncan came on and did a great job for us. But I was really surprised that I was starting in that game. So I'm thankful for it, and you know, things worked out, so it was good.
I mean, you ended the season with 14 goals in 29 games. So, you know, you were our top scorer. 1 and 2 in the Premier League that was just Premier League goals, by the way. That, you know, I think it was something like 17, 18 or whatever or overall. So you fully deserved your place. I mean, I love Duncan, but it was never that, you know, we've never scoring that kind of goal, that you know, that many goals that you were getting. He was more the focal point, and so for me, it was a no-brainer that you were starting. I remember being in the crowd, and it was whether Duncan was going to make it on the bench, and him and Amakati were on the bench, and that gave everyone a boost. But being in this, I've said this to Matt Jackson, it was so weird. We were a team that you'd scored the goal only 10 days earlier. But that second half of the season, we were on a great run. We beat United at home and things like that. And I was that confident going to Wembley against a team that had lost the league on the last day of the season.
Yeah.
So, you know, a week before, we're going for the double.
Yeah.
And when Graham Stewart hits the bar, I didn't follow the ball. I just looked at the net, expecting the ball to hit the net.
Yeah.
And so it hits the net. I'm expecting it anyway. So I didn't realise you'd scored the first, because obviously bedlam breaks out, doesn't it? I've just seen the ball hit the net.
Right.
And then running everywhere, tears in my eyes and everything. Yeah. So it was, that team had just created that for our fans, that we just expected to beat the team. That now when I think about it, at this age, I'm like, how did I expect us to just beat United then? We were 15th in the league and they were second, but that's how good a run that team had turned in that second half of the season.
Yeah, and again, that goes down to management. I mean, obviously the players, you do your part, but without the leadership, it's very difficult. And that's why the importance of having a solid manager that not just understands the game. That's why Pep, I love him, because he's such a player's manager, but he's so smart with everything. And there's not many of them around. I won't mention Klopp, but at the end of the day, it's. I think we've got one now with Ancelotti. I think he's fabulous, you know, with the experience. I played against him in Italy, fabulous player, and I just think that it was a great manager to bring in at this time with such a strong squad. I think he can bring it together. But yeah, that's what belief is, and that's why, you know, you win games. You have to have belief, not just ability. You look at Man United; they've got a lot of ability, but they have no kind of concept of team play in my eyes right now. They've improved, but they're still there and over there, and that's what we were. And then all of a sudden, you know, we still lost games, but we knew why. and sometimes it was just pure good finishing. Sometimes it was, we didn't finish our chances, but there was a reason for it. But going to the cup final and playing in front of, again, it felt like a home game. It really did. It's just whether Evertonians are louder or not, I don't know. But you couldn't hear anything else but them. And when we were out there, if you look at the entire game, we were outplayed. But then, they had some great players at the time. They had a solid defence that didn't concede much. And as you said, they were second in the league. But they had something really to come out. They didn't want to come out empty-handed. That was a danger for us. We were we were going out and enjoy it. So there wasn't pressure in the way that it would normally be. Like, the last game of the season, you've got to stay up. It wasn't that. So it wasn't there. And you didn't feel it. You just enjoyed the occasion. And I can remember every minute of it. But, Man United, the best part for me, and is you understand how much it means to Man United fans and their team is when we went into the bar afterwards and we saw 6 or 7 of them over there, silence, not a word to each other, looking over at our table, and we're just loving it, and they're going, "Did we just lose to that?" And you could see it in their mind, disgust. But that's soccer, and I don't think they respected us enough. And again, Neville Southall had a phenomenal game, and Dave Watson was unreal in the middle there. It really was a defensive play rather than, everyone remembers the goal, but the way that we defended as a group was what was brought in at the start of the season, and it stood us well over that whole season, right to the last game, and that was a difference. But at times to win a cup, you need luck. You just do, and we certainly had it on the day. So, but what a great day! What a great day!
Was it a surprise when Joe left? Because it surprised us as fans.
Yeah. You don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but that really did surprise me. And it's a bit sad, to be honest, how it happened in the end. But that's soccer. When you look at the last sort of 10 years of Everton and how many coaches have moved on, I just hope this is one where we have that stability of 4 or 5 years. And really, if you look at all the best teams, the teams that have done really well over time, the managers have been there for a long time. If you look at Liverpool, Man United, with Ferguson and Man City, he's been there 4 years, 5 years now. They're all his players, and it does take that much time. People don't get that much time now, but I just believe that we have the right person now, and that it is what it is. So fingers crossed it works out.
Just so your last appearance for Everton was obviously Dave Watson took over for a couple of games and you weren't involved, and then I don't know whether you were injured or you just weren't involved, but then you were asked to play in centre midfield against Tottenham at home, and we win you were absolutely brilliant. I think you were man of the match. We won the game 1-0. Gary Speed scored early on, and then you left on a motorbike, and that was the last we saw of you. I mean, how did the midfield thing come about, and what was the story with the motorbike?
Well, the game itself, I think we had an injury in midfield, and I just said I could do a job there because I'd played with Glasgow Rangers as a centre half in a couple of games. I got man of the match there, and then because it's Scotland. At the time, Rangers were magnificent. They could beat anyone. I don't mean that about Scottish soccer. Scottish soccer it was good. It was a good league, but and then I told the coach that I felt I could do a good job. I was fit and I could get around the field, and I thought I had decent vision. So it worked out really well. It was a good game. and it was a tight game, but you know, Speedy came in with a great goal like he did. Fabulous player, and it just worked out for us. You know, it was a really enjoyable way to leave the club. Kind of almost take him out of danger. But I was supposed to. Dave Watson told me, "You're staying for the Liverpool game," and I said, "I can't. Otherwise, this deal's going to go sideways." I said, "I'm begging you, let me go." And in the end, he said, "Yeah, you can go," which is, you know, cool of him. And obviously, getting out of the dressing room, and then, you know, someone told me I had so much time to get to the plane, and he said, "You ain't going to make it by car. I've got a buddy that, you know, we got a motorbike ready for you." So ran out of there, ran out of the dressing room, jumped on a bike and trying to beat all the traffic. It was crazy. And people double taking because they could see who it was. It's like, what the hell's going on there? You know, it's just weird. And, you know, what a crazy life. So there you go.
What a way to finish your Everton career, just on the back of a motor. Kept us up.
Finished on a win. That's
kept us up. We won the game, and you get off to the airport on a motorbike like Jason Bourne. Not a bad way to not a bad way to finish. Not a bad way to finish. I mean, enjoy it. Enjoy that 108 degrees heat that you're having there while we switch our heaters on over here. But listen, Paul, thank you so much for taking the time.
Hey, great interview. I really enjoyed talking to you. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
It was outstanding, and pass our best wishes on to Jordan, because we speak to Jordan through Twitter and all that. So,
okay,
and obviously your missus for sorting it as well. Outstanding, Caroline there. So thanks. Stay safe. Yeah, stay safe, and hopefully you get to chat to you again at some stage in the future. Okay. Cheers. Thanks a lot. Take care. The brilliant Paul Rideout there, scorer of the goal the last time we won a major trophy. Thanks so much, Paul, for taking the time out. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't. If you want to see the full uncut version of this, get over and join us on Patreon. See you later.